Welcome to PoliticKING. I'm Larry King. Conservative David Horowitz is the founder and president of the David Horowitz Freedom Center, a New York Times best-selling author. His latest book, The Black Book of the American Left, Volume 4, Islamofascism and the War Against the Jews. In this book, he warns of a growing presence of jihadists on American college campuses who've teamed up with what he calls American radicals with the long-range goal of annihilating many religions and destroying democracies. He says concepts such as Islamophobia kills open discussion of radical Islam's oppression of women and violence against homosexuals. He also says that American campuses are filled with anti-Israeli propaganda that amounts to thinly disguised war against the Jews. Thanks for coming, David.
Thank you, Larry.
You were once a
leftist.
Lefty.
I was once out on those campuses demonstrating, yeah.
What changed you?
Well, in the course of my career, I got involved with the Black Panther Party. I raised a lot of money in those days to buy a church in East Oakland with classrooms for the party. And I recruited my bookkeeper. I was editing Ramparts, which is the largest magazine on the left then. And in December 1974, I recruited my bookkeeper to keep the books of the school because I had made it a tax-exempt foundation. And in December 1974, this woman disappeared. Her name was Betty Van Patter. And by the time the police fished her body out of San Francisco Bay, I had figured out that the Panthers had killed her. And that was really the end of my career in the left. I didn't become...
Why did they kill her?
They were... What I discovered was that they were doing a lot of criminal activities, and they had killed a lot of people.
So that destroys your whole left thinking?
No. I felt responsible for having recruited this woman. So it took me about 7 years. This happened in '74. I voted for Jimmy Carter in '80. But I did pull the lever for Ronald Reagan in '84. And it was partly because I felt that the left could not face up to the bad things it did. One thing about the right is they don't sort of protect the past. Richard Nixon, nobody on the right that I know thinks that Richard Nixon wasn't culpable in Watergate, for example.
Oh, during that time, they sure did try to cover.
Well, yeah, in the heat of the battle, yes. But this was, when I left the left, it was 7 or 8 years later. And then I saw I had supported Fidel Castro when he came to power, but then he turned Cuba into a prison and ruined its economy. And then when the Nicaraguan, the Sandinistas came along, Fidel was their hero, and I saw it repeating all over again. So
I want to get to the book, but yes. What do you do when the right what do you do like when the Iraqi war? You agree with the Iraqi war?
I actually do. I think that the Iraq war was necessary. Obviously,
look at the results.
The results were that we defeated the terrorists. It was Obama, by not keeping American troops at a base there.
You don't think the terrorists are now ISIS?
The terrorists are ISIS, yeah. But the reality is, I know Nancy Pelosi's always saying that Bush is creating terrorists. No, what creates the terrorists, well, it's a fanatical religion, as you know. And what makes them expand is American weakness and American withdrawals.
You were a lefty then during the Vietnam War. You opposed the war.
Well, my parents were communists.
You still oppose the Vietnam War?
No.
You favored it when it was on?
Well, look, I think it's a big question as to whether we should have gone in the first place. An Asian war. That, I think, but what the left did was it forced America to withdraw all its support from the Vietnamese, and the communists slaughtered 2.5 million people. So.
But we lost 55,000.
And we lost 55,000.
All right, now to the book.
Yes, sir.
The Black Book of the American Left. Is there, do you see a conspiracy among the left and Islamic
I wrote
fascism?
a book actually 11 years ago called
you updated.
Unholy Alliance. The jihadists see America as the great Satan and Israel as the little Satan. And leftists see it the same way, only they don't use words like Satan. That America is the arch-imperialist power and Israel is its colonial or neo-colonial outpost in the Middle East. I don't think people realize how serious the climate has become. 60% of all religious hate crimes, according to the FBI, are committed against Jews. Jews are 8 times, a Jew is 8 times more likely to be the target of a hate crime than a Muslim in America. 54%.
That's nothing new. The right wing. How about the Lindberghs and the Bunds and the Joseph Kennedys? They love the Jews.
No, Joseph,
the right wing.
No,
is
I wrote a book about the Kennedys.
You don't think the right wing is in love with the Jews, except they want to go to Israel for the Christians?
I think it's, you know, as a Jew, it's a difficult situation for Jews.
You're not kidding.
This is the, you know, best place in the world for Jews, but. Anyway, I mean, anti-Semitism has been with us for thousands of years.
Correct. There's nothing new with on left and right.
So, and 54% of Jewish students in a recent, I think it was a Pew survey, felt they either experienced anti-Semitism or knew of witnessed an anti-Semitic event. And I can tell when we went to school, I didn't encounter anti-Semitism.
I did encounter it in Brooklyn. But I wasn't a black in Alabama.
No.
I mean, talk about encountering anti.
Well, I'm not saying there was none. I'm just saying, particularly on college campuses.
So what caused this? Why this?
I think it's, you can identify the organizations. One is called the Muslim Students Association, which is a front for the Muslim Brotherhood. And the other is called Students for Justice in Palestine, which was started by a Muslim, somebody in the Muslim Brotherhood, Hatem Batsian, he's still at Berkeley, and he runs the Islamophobia Institute at Berkeley.
Do you think there is Islamophobia?
Islamophobia is a term created by the Brotherhood to silence critics. I actually have been the target of an anti-Islamophobia resolution at UCLA. And their definition of Islamophobia is anybody who says that women are oppressed in Muslim countries, which they are. Anybody who ties Islam in any way to terrorism. Anybody who says that Islam is a political religion, which it is. So what it does is it outlaws, and it was passed, by the way, unanimously at UCLA, it outlaws any criticism of the Muslim religion. You can criticize Catholics. Nobody's passing resolutions to stop you from doing that.
Are you saying that all left is anti-Israel? When you say the
source, left is a big term now.
Yeah, well, you're saying
so.
The left.
If we include Elizabeth Warren, who's a leftist, I would
She's
say
not
no.
anti-Israel.
That's what I say. I'd say no. If you're talking about the activists on college campuses, pretty much yes. I don't see any college leftists dissociating themselves from these horrendous. They have Israeli apartheid weeks. It's a regular feature of college protests, and on it they honor terrorists like Sheikh Yassin. They have pictures of airplanes hunting Israeli, gunships shooting infants. I mean, kids, 3-year-olds. They have maps that say that it's a series of maps, which the first one's all green, and it's Palestine in 1946. There was no Palestine in 1946. The Palestine Mandate refers to a geographical region like New England. There was no people calling itself Palestinian. So then they have the Jews invading and occupying Palestine. The Jews don't occupy any Arab lands. The lands that Israel was created on is the same as Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, created out of the Turkish Empire. The Turks aren't Arabs. They controlled the place for 400 years. American Indians have a greater claim on the United States than Arabs do on Israel.
In March of 2011 at Brooklyn College, you described Islam as a religion possessed by hate, violence, and racism. All of Islam?
I do not say that about Islam.
What did you say?
That is I said that the Palestinians, the culture of the Palestinian territories, is a terrorist culture. It's a death cult. 100% of Palestinians vote for one of two terrorist parties. And they honor, mothers who've given, 4 of their children have been suicide bombers and blown up. These are the national heroes. So I said, in the whole history of the world, there's been terrible oppressions of people, but never has there been a people that straps bombs onto its own children, sends them to kill other children and themselves, and tells them if they're lucky enough to be males, they're going to go to heaven and get 72 virgins. So I said that was a sick culture.
Of course.
I did not attack.
Okay.
There is no statement of mine attacking Muslims as such.
Okay. So this is a radical group that may be Muslim, as there may be some radical Jews.
Exactly.
All right.
Now, but unfortunately, that at the top of the show, you talked about me saying that they're connected to terrorists. 12 former presidents of the Muslim Students Association on American campuses have gone on to high-level careers in Al-Qaeda and other terrorist organizations. The most famous one is Anwar al-Awlaki, the head of Al-Qaeda in Yemen, who was killed in a drone strike by us. It's a recruitment organization. It presents itself as a religious cultural group, but it's a recruitment organization for the terrorists.
What do you propose to do about this?
I haven't changed my stripes. I was brought up, you make some noise. That's what you do.
But if people have opinions on college campuses, they're entitled to have opinions on college campuses.
The First Amendment gives every American the right to embarrass themselves in public. No question.
Absolutely.
If you want to spew hate, I'm against hate crimes because it criminalizes thoughts and speech.
Of course.
It's a crime if you beat up somebody or kill them. You're a criminal. You get them anyway. So yeah, what I object to is that the universities fund the Muslim Students Association and Students for Justice in Palestine. They fund, when I spoke at the University of California, San Diego, they had a gigantic wall with all these lies attacking Jews, basically, and
funded
Israel.
By the school?
Funded by the school, $8,000 from the school. They had 4 schools. And
how does the school defend that?
Well, they don't have to, because if I come to campus, by the way, I cannot, this is disgraceful, but I can't go to a campus without a bodyguard. And
you're threatened?
The university, I've been attacked. The university, this is a long-standing, it's been 15 years like that. In 2001, I criticized or opposed reparations for slavery paid 137 years after the fact to people who were not even the children of slaves from like Mexican Americans who haven't been here that long. It just was crazy. The chancellor of the school assigned 30 armed guards for my talk. I was a grandfather then. What's going on here?
You're a dangerous man.
Well, no, I think that the administrations of these schools have abdicated their responsibility. In my day, I held a peaceful, it was an anti-nuclear speech I gave. And actually, Edward Teller was listening. He was there in the audience. And I was a radical. And I was hauled in for an administrative hearing because I hadn't gotten permission I just got up on a stump, as it were. And I was appalled. I said, this is a campus. Why can't I say what I have to say? But that doesn't go, there's no in loco parentis anymore.
I get it. You declared, we're losing our country. You blamed Obama and liberal Democrats. Losing our country to whom?
Look, Obama is he's about to give a nuclear weapon to the Iranians, for crying out tears. He has abandoned the Middle East. He supported the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, lost the most important country.
Gives more arms to Israel than all the presidents
that
combined.
may be true. That's politics, where his heart is.
Well, the other's not.
His heart is with the Muslims.
How do you know where his heart is?
Look, he claims to be a Christian, And yet he lets hundreds of thousands of Christians, men, women, and children, be slaughtered by ISIS. He only does something when he gets such pressure from the press. The Iraqi Christian community, which he allowed to be destroyed without doing anything, is the oldest Christian community in the world. The cathedral in Mosul has been holding services since the time of St. Paul, for crying out tears. You can't tell me that Obama identifies with Christians. As a Jew, I would have done more to help them than he did.
So America is responsible for ISIS?
America, the vacuum that Obama has created in the Middle East has made ISIS possible. If we had the base that we had in Iraq and 20,000 troops there never would be an ISIS. If he had drawn that red line in the sand in Syria, if he hadn't overthrown Gaddafi, now Libya it's a nightmare. You know that there are 2 million refugees that Obama has created? No, it's 20 million.
Because we have limited time.
Yes.
Do you see light at the tunnel from your perspective?
No, I'm a conservative. I believe...
Well, Edward Bennett Williams, the liberal, told me he was a pessimist because he's intelligent.
Well, I'm not going to be that arrogant. Look, I'm always an optimist. I mean, I think you're born an optimist or a pessimist. I don't know how I have this. And I expect the American people to wake up. And that means people who think of themselves as liberals too, and start to realize that you can't protect the country if you don't have a secure southern border, for example. And we need to be rearming now. You have Russia running amok in Europe, the Chinese building super navies and air forces. America, the world is an unpleasant place. I think it was Henry Kissinger who said that the normal state of mankind is war. Peace is an aberration. It's unfortunate. I mean, it's just, yeah. And I think the older you get, the more you can't be too optimistic.
But we're still a pretty strong power.
I think the American people
take us on.
The American people are amazing. Gallup did a poll in April 1941. Europe had been completely overrun by the Germans, Asia by the Japanese. And he took a poll, and 80% of the American people voted to stay out of the war. And then came Pearl Harbor, and America responded. And so I'm concerned because I think there's going to be a major atrocity here.
You do. Do you have a favorite political candidate among the Republicans?
No, I like several of them. I want the Republicans not to be debating in their debates evolution or gay marriage, which I support. I don't want to hear the debate. I want them to talk about politics, not religion and all these.
Well, the Supreme Court may take care of gay marriage.
The what?
Supreme Court may take care of that before June.
It might, but look, the issue is deeper than that. You have to persuade people. You can't impose one way or the other. I mean, I've faulted the gay movement by going through the courts. Persuade people. Americans are actually very generous and open-hearted, and I thought the gays were winning the battle until they.
But we had to go through. We had to go through the civil rights laws. We had to go through that.
I know, but 90%, well, I don't know, it was 90%, but the majority of Americans supported Martin Luther King.
Do you think change will occur on the campuses?
Yeah, there's always this generational thing. Kids are always rebelling. Whoever is there is going to get rebelled against. So. And I actually think a lot the internet colleges, a lot of these private colleges, the politically correct, so to speak, what I call, leftist gibberish curriculum and institutes, they don't qualify you to do anything in the world. So kids are turning away from those
You don't
things.
like the Harvards and the Princetons and the...
Well, Harvard is a big place, My son is a trustee at Columbia.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, it's a big. So they don't like me at Columbia. The administration doesn't like me because I criticize them. But it's
David,
a huge
you're an amazing
place.
guy. We're going to have you back.
So are you, Larry. Thank you.
The Collected Conservative Writings of David Horowitz. The new book that is out right now is The Black Book of the American Left, Volume 4, Islamo-Fascism and the War Against the Jews.